Dezmu with Edmonton Gamers, and I'm sitting here with Mike Sass, a really amazing artist. He's working on a whole bunch of things. He's worked with with BioWare, with Atari, he's worked with LucasArts. So what can so you're here at the convention. First of all, how's the convention been for you so far?
Convention's great. This year I was expecting it to be maybe a little bump from last year, but it's been a huge bump. There's a lot of fans with a lot of passion, and this is my third year doing this in Edmonton, so I've met a lot of friends and a lot of repeat customers and fans that I've gotten to know. So it's really at a nice point now where even though the convention's still kind of small, it feels really big, and I think this was the best one yet for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. So so can you talk to me a little bit about where you guys started with your artist career and how you kind of segue into being this mega image illustration?
Well, it's a really long story. I first got started back in 1995. I was BioWare's first artist, and I got hired out of school just with a few guys in Calgary. We were at a startup called Pyrotech, and we moved up to Edmonton to finish our first game, and the company became BioWare. And I worked at BioWare for 12 years, concentrating on all the cover art, all the magazine covers and box art, and all the promotional imagery, including desktop wallpapers and concept art and everything. So I have a long experience in the video game industry, doing everything from animation to illustration. When EA bought BioWare, I left about a year after that to be freelance, and now I've been working just at home in my studio and doing the same sort of work, but for Blizzard, World of Warcraft, Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons, and actually in the past 3 years I've transitioned to being a traditional painter rather than a digital artist. So that's been a big change, and that's something that hopefully will extend my career because it's something I've been passionate to get into for a long time.
So you said you were a digital painter prior to being kind of on the board with paintbrush. How's that transition been? What sort of what steps did you take to get to the level where you felt comfortable?
Right. Well, I always knew how to paint because I painted a lot of studies. I painted a lot of portraiture and still lifes and technical things that weren't creative concept fantasy pictures, but I still knew the process to paint and the procedures and technical aspects of it. Digital art is great for giving you a lot of experience in image making because you can produce images much faster. So you can get experience for just how to compose things and color theory and all the non-technical processes, but the aesthetic aspects of making paintings can be practiced digitally. So I bridged the two things together, like I said, about 3 years ago. I went to a good workshop called the Illustration Masterclass, which is in Massachusetts. And if you look that up online, you'll see it's a pretty big deal. Some of the largest names in fantasy art teach there, like Boris Vallejo and Julie Bell, Michael Whelan, and James Gurney. So some of the biggest names in fantasy art are instructors there. And going to that and meeting people and just learning a few little transitional tricks. For instance, how to transfer my drawings to a board and how to sort of build up the surface, and a few little intermediary steps allowed me to transition pretty quickly because I had all the experience painting and all the experience composing. It was really quite easy to bring them together, and I'm very happy to do it because it's a very rare skill set now. There's out of 100 magic artists currently working in the world, there's probably only about 20% of us doing traditional paintings, so the works are highly collectible and very valuable now.
And it's got to feel really like surreal to a point where you put down your pen and the paper and you put down your work on paper, and then just see these unreal prices being attached to them, and knowing that you took part and you are the part that made them product that way. So it's great.
Well, a price for an original, I mean, it is a lot of work. Like my originals take anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks to make, and it's a many stages of process. So you know, even the prices of fantasy art are still undervalued when you compare it to, you know, a lot of gallery work and whatnot. But there's a definite trend and a definite respect being afforded to fantasy illustration now, and the field is really starting to progress with the growing fan base and everything.
So what would you say, as an artist, what were some more difficult types of say, characters that you had to like first get into, and what were some of your more favorite ones?
Okay, well, I think it's very difficult sometimes to work on franchise characters. So for instance, I've painted Boba Fett and I've painted Darth Vader, and those characters have to be, you know, exactly as the fans are used to seeing them. You know, if something is slightly off in a proportion in their helmet or their size or their width or their height, you know, people can tell. And so those things are very difficult unless you have a lot of experience with the character. Doing those things the first time and it being what they call on model is very difficult to do. Some of the things I enjoy just active pictures, so pictures with a lot of action and fighting and vibrancy and things that are dynamic. I enjoy a lot of comic art.
The really dynamic stuff. When you were growing up, right, who were some of the artists when you were perhaps quite much younger that you looked at and you're like, wow, this is where I want to be. I want to get to that sort of level of technical skill. Who were some of the artists?
Okay, well, I'm a little older. I'm 41, and a lot of this stuff is really quite new in the public perception. Like back in the 80s, there really wasn't much books or instructional material for fantasy art. So my influences were more comic books. So I was a big fan of John Byrne, who was an Edmonton, Calgary artist. He was a luminary in the 80s. And then my fans of painting, I mean, I just knew the stuff that was in the art history books, like everybody learns, you know, Leonardo da Vinci and you know, Van Gogh and whatnot. So I didn't really know anything about fantasy painters until I started doing the work and started to discover these people and started to have to produce work that, you know, had to compete with these people. So, you know, I only learned about a lot of this stuff as a professional, and, you know, people today have a really large repository of references and inspiration that I didn't have when I was a kid. So
it's kind of a testament to your ability to adapt and sort of, like, you know, compared to what they might be able to compare themselves to as younger artists. And what you had to compare yourself, like you said, with Van Goghs and Leonardo da Vinci's, it's probably a very difficult feat to, you know, really figure out what path do I take to get here.
Well, you know, it doesn't seem realistic. You know, I think what really blew my mind is I went to there's a convention called Gen Con. It's like the largest gaming convention in Milwaukee. This was about 2001, and that's the first time I met other professional artists, and it just blew me away to see originals for the first time, to meet people and see, you know, their personalities and how old they were. And that was like a very key moment in my career, where I saw a path that I could follow, and I saw examples of things that I could look up to. And these people have remained friends ever since. And I think that's a very key ingredient if you live in a place like Edmonton, out of the way, is to travel and meet people and really try to get first-hand experience. Like books and videos are all well and everything, but it's very important to see the physical paintings and to meet the people and to understand, you know, what the people that you want to do the work, what they are like and what their experiences are like and how hard they work and the factors of the industry that are existing.
How much do you think having really solid people skills, especially for going independent, right, into commissions, how much does people skills play into trying to become, you know, really credible and really good? Like,
it's very important. First of all, like, your quality is number one. I think one of the largest mistakes young people make today is they think, you know, social networking is a way to climb a ladder or to integrate themselves in connections, and it really doesn't matter. Quality is everything. If you can do the work, you will get the work. having said that, if you're serious about this career, it's probably a lifelong passion that you want to do for decades. And having good personal skills allows you to have like long-term relationships with clients. It's such a small industry that the art directors and the clients, they number very few. And one art director from one company will change jobs and go to another company, and if he's had a great experience working with you, then you'll get work with him, you know, at his next job. And because it's such a small industry, once you're connected to the people, you really see it's just a few hundred people, and everybody knows everybody. So your reputation really matters, because you know, everybody talks, everybody knows everybody in this industry, and if you're easy to work with and you take feedback well and you do a professional job, you know, that really is going to be a boost to your quality, and the quality is sort of the default thing you have to have.
One thing you had mentioned earlier, or actually that I found out, is that well, what I've noticed with artists is sometimes they really undervalue their what their artwork is. And I believe you have a website that has downloadable tools and things of that sort that really assist with a young artist wanting to sort of get a better understanding of what contracts and things in the industry are going to look like. So could you tell me a bit about that?
Sure. Well, about 2 years ago, some of the more senior members of the fantasy illustration community, myself, Todd Lockwood, Jim Pavlik, Randy Gallegos, and Aaron Miller, we started a group called PACT, which stands for the Professional Artist Client Toolkit, and we kickstarted this website, which is a repository of contracts and information and articles written about how to be a freelancer and how to run a business. And it's also a functioning web tool that is basically a client scorecard, where once you've worked with a client, you can rate the client on the amount of pay, timeliness of pay, contract, and intangibles like how easy they were to work with and how many revisions they required. So we started this website about a year ago, and it's been very successful. We have over 5,000 followers on the Facebook page right now, and many members. And in the future, there's probably plans to expand it to have similar tools and contracts and company profiles for comic art and animation and whatnot. But right now it's more of a fantasy illustration focused website. But there's a lot of information that can be shared to any freelancer in the field. So everybody check out PACT on Facebook and on the internet, and it's a very deep site with a lot of information, and you can get a membership, and there are things that you can see for free. I believe you can download up to 3 articles for free and browse some of the things for free. And on the Facebook page we always have links to sort of industry news and whatnot. So we saw a need, say, recently, where there's a lot of outsourcing and a lot of you know, a lot of people trying to undercut other artists and professional practices.
Yeah, that's terrible.
There's sites out there where you can literally get artwork done for $5, and it's almost a career that's not even realistic anymore. So PACT is sort of an organization whose aim is to sort of unveil the reality behind the situation, because a lot of people want to get into this career, but they really don't know the numbers behind it. They don't really know what people make, and they probably assume by looking at all the beautiful artwork that the artists are compensated handsomely, and they're not. They're not. Many of the best artists in the world, you know, make $40,000 a year, you know, for working 7 days a week. So once you understand the state of the industry, then you can plan if it's a realistic industry for you to get into. And you know, it's just that information is such a powerful tool.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of the times where, like, working with a client, they want it like this, and then you believe that you will accomplish that, but no, like this, and you got to kind of go back and forth, and like you said, at $40,000 a year, and you're really giving your blood and sweat for a picture. It's, you know, probably I guess a good phrase to say is it's not for the weak of heart. You got to really, really want this.
Well, you have to really want it, but you also have to have your eyes open as to how to make this career sustainable over 30 years, let's say. you know, as a contractor, you don't get a pension, you don't get a retirement savings, you don't get health care if you live in the States or countries that don't have socialized health care. So PACT, you know, provides sample contracts and information and advice for how to retain the rights of your images so that you can relicense them in the future, and information on fair rates and whatnot. So these are things that if you don't pay attention to now, you won't have a sustainable career in the future.
On that note, I want to thank Mr. Mike Sass here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. And if anybody wants to find you on the internet, what do they got?
Sure. My website is sassart.com, SASSART.com, and there'll be a new site up hopefully within a month, and that's where I'm at. And you can friend me on Facebook, and I have a fan page on Facebook as well. So,
all right, thanks so much.
Thanks.